This is the Emergency Medical Minute, sponsored by Mile High Ambulance. The Emergency Medical Minute is excited to announce that we are now offering AMA, PRA, Category 1 credits via online course modules. To access these and for more information, visit our website at www.emergencymedicalminute.com/CME-courses, or simply click on the link in our show notes and create an account.
Pyloric stenosis, just to go over the pathophysiology of it, we don't really understand why it happens to certain infants. The infants that are at risk are male infants, firstborn, have a little higher risk. It's not like they're the only ones that get it. And then smoking. I have no idea why those are all connected, but when you look at the data and pull it out, they are a little bit higher risk, but not so much so that there's plenty of second-born females that also get it. But the age range to remember with pyloric stenosis is the rules of threes, we call it, so 3 weeks to 3 months. And it happens a little closer to the 3 weeks in my experience, but in between those age ranges, 3 weeks to 3 months are the classic age range. You really won't see it over that. There's other things that have age ranges defined, that things happen outside of those typical age ranges, but pyloric stenosis pretty much sticks to that 3 weeks to 3 months. What's the classic symptom of pyloric stenosis? Have you guys heard that one? So pyloric stenosis, I guess I should define it anatomically, is when the pylorus, the exit from the stomach, becomes so hypertrophied or so thick, the muscle, that it stenoses and turns too tight for anything to pass through. It's also a strong muscle, and then the stomach's a strong muscle, so projectile vomiting. So when moms come in and say projectile vomiting, you got to think, well, maybe pyloric stenosis, but moms are savvy. They look at Google, and a lot of times they'll say projectile vomiting's going on, so you got to take everything with a grain of salt. And a very common mimicker of pyloric stenosis is just reflux. You get a lot of formula going in too much at once, they're overfeeding, that's going to create a forceful vomiting as well. So you can't know based on your history. They say you can palpate an olive on exam. I've never done it, and I've had quite a few cases. It's hard to feel. You really rely on your ultrasound at that point. Or you have a really good overfeeding history and you're comfortable with how the kid looks. Because a really sick pyloric stenosis kid who's been vomiting for several days will look really dehydrated, and they'll get this electrolyte imbalance, this classic hypokalemic metabolic alkalosis thing. But those kids that get that are dehydrated and sick. They need to be rehydrated and their electrolytes need to be restored. Then they get surgery. But if you catch pyloric stenosis early, they actually look pretty good. You'll catch it on an ultrasound. They'll see the hypertrophy. Nothing will pass through, and they can get their surgery like the next morning. So that's most of the cases. I've only had one case that was really deranged, where they were like electrolytes were out of whack and really dehydrated and sick. And the rest of them, the moms brought them in at a good amount of time. And yeah, those all had projectile vomiting. The mom said, yeah, it either hit the wall or it was 4 feet. That's one other differentiator, is that the forceful vomiting from reflux tends to be kind of a fountain, and the other one tends to shoot up. So that's fun. We're talking about vomit, but it's baby vomit, so it's not as bad. Any questions? Okay. Have a good shift.
The Emergency Medical Minute would like to thank our sponsor, Swedish Medical Center, for helping fund our nonprofit organization and make this podcast possible. Donations are essential to our organization to cover operational costs and fund the creation of our online courses offering AMA, PRA, Category 1 credits. So if you enjoy our show, and if you're able to make a one-time or recurring donation towards our organization, any amount is helpful. Please click the link in our show notes to make a donation. Thank you for listening.